we back, and we late dealing with these people on the phone. All right, so back at it again. You know, trying to get it in for the win. Uh, what you doing with your life, man? Shout out to the average college guy. Showed him. A lot of people wouldn't know who that was without them looking in the bottom left corner and seeing the average with the number and stuff. But whatever. Uh, when it come down to it, man, what are you really actually doing with your life? Because a lot of people are not more or less focused on, the basics. Basics is having a job. A basic is paying your bills, not trying to get other people paying your bills. A basic is take care of your hygiene. It's just basics. You need to do the basics. Then when we start getting into, the more strenuous, not really so much, but to the point where you actually put more time in, start worrying about more about your finances. Start saving, developing savings to, further uh pay for, wants and possibly needs in most cases. You know, People want a house, but at this time you actually need a house. The way that rent is going up is to a point where you're gonna need a house. you know, and that's why I keep going back to this. I'm gonna hit this for a little bit, and I'm gonna come back to the topic. But you know, they have so many programs. I talked about this. HUD homes. A lot of people buy with HUD homes, and it's more along the lines of an auction. I actually entered in a HUD home, and luckily I didn't get the property. I was third from actually having to buy the property and put down on it. Come to find out, the property had some foundational issues and all kind of other stuff. But you could have your inspection and move forward and all that. But if something else is wrong with it, they have like different loan structure to help you fix it. But for the most part, but for the most part though, when it come down to it, you have what's the name? Habitat. Habitat. A lot of people, on low income, don't really take advantage. Like you have literally programs that, as long as you've been on your job for about 2 years, um, you have at least, I think they said a 580. It probably went up, but I know back in the day it was more along the lines of a 580. You can get a habitat house. They will build a house from scratch, or they will take an existing house and update it. New walls, new paint, probably new windows, doors, everything. They will take an existing house and update it. Around the corner from my friend's house, they had a habitat house. It was an old house, a brick house, all brick. Habitat doing a brick house, it takes a lot of money because you have to get a mason, somebody that's skilled in mason bricklaying to come out and do a brick house. So they more or less do wood and some do a little vinyl siding and some, but more or less they focus on the cheaper version because you're building the house from scratch. And when I say people who have habitat homes, you're actually going in there helping build the house with the people that are construction guys and some families and friends that will help you build a house. You get volunteers. They show everybody how things are done so you won't make mistakes. They have inspectors to come, make sure the house is up to code, make sure joints are put where they need to be, make sure, just you have a nice house to live in. Your house is not falling apart after being there for 2 to 3 years or something like that. So that's a good, program to get into habitat. Do your research on it. Like I said, down payment assistance for first time home buyers. In some cases, you don't pay nothing down if you're a first time home buyer. Then with the down payment assistance, if you get to the point where you don't qualify for no money down, they give you a portion. There's some programs If your down payment is 7,000, your down payment is 2,000, they'll give you, on a 5,000, they'll give you 3,000. On a, 7,000, they might give you 5 or 6. But pretty much what it is, they're giving you money on a down payment to help. So a lot of people need to take advantage of that. You know, a lot of people, when it comes down to it, just really don't know because you don't do the research. And just like the guy with Everest College, these programs are available, but we have to be the ones to go out there and try to seek the knowledge. Like I said, I don't normally shout out people in the chat, but Four Corners, what's going on, man? I haven't seen you popping up your videos in a minute, man. And I got to go back. You know how YouTube play games, so I got to go back and check and see if your videos are popping up. And Trickle Mama, I seen you up there early. I got to go back and look at your video from this morning. Woke up a little late, but back to the screen. When it comes down to it, so many programs we miss out on. We don't take advantage. We to a degree is always Johnny come late because the information is either hidden or it's not being made available. So you got people that get into the stock market, find a stock, make tons of money. And, people been doing this for years, but we don't know the information, to a degree. And it's not even, a race thing or a culture thing. It's all to a degree of not knowing things, because I don't know how to trade stocks. I'm not going to teach my kid how to trade stocks, you know, and their kids are not going to learn because nobody teaches them until one day one of our kids is talking to their friends or talking to a teacher or somebody that trades stocks and they get interested. Now they're able to go and tell it to the cousins, their dad, their mom, and things of that nature. And it starts that trickle effect to where, everybody can learn more about this. I told you, that was one of the main key things about me getting into life insurance. My great grandmother always talked about you don't want to be a burden to nobody. Get life insurance. If you don't get enough for the family, at least the bare minimum, get enough to bury yourself, you know. And that always stuck with me, all through high school. My great grandmother passed, I think, within the last year of me getting ready to graduate high school. But that always stuck with me as I came to be an adult, as I came to the point of having a family, getting my first life insurance policy, I think 20 or 21. Got my first life insurance policy on my own. I had, policy my grandmother had, but my first policy on my own that I purchased for me, you know, and so that was the main thing, Hey, that break is always important. Sometimes you just gotta, get to it and relax. So that's a good thing, man. I'm hope everything's well with you. But getting back into it. And when it talks up, and I'm talking, hitting on a guy from Everett, that's where he's basically pushing people. Get to the knowledge, do something with your life. Get off that sofa. That's the number one thing I used to always hear. What you doing over there sitting on that sofa? You ain't doing nothing with your life. It's because he's trying to push knowledge. And a lot of people, we get to these YouTube streets, like I always say, it's always fun. Kay, what's going on, man? Hey, Kay, and that's there's no shade to everybody coming in, but like I say, I always try to shout out people, and to a degree, Kay, like the channel, man, always in support of it, man. You do great content for business and people, that own their own business, so shout out to you, man. But yeah, man, that that's the number one thing. Learning how you sit here and there's knowledge out here that you don't know. You're not seeking the knowledge. You're not actually going out looking for the knowledge. You're out here just, living life. And it's cool. There's nothing wrong with living life. But like I always say, when you get older, life you're gonna have to work with life, or life is gonna take you under. And a lot of people neglect not learning skills. You know, for people that didn't go to college, there's nothing wrong with not going to college. College isn't for everybody. But what skills are you homing in on? There's trade schools, you know, there's courses you can learn things. There's free things on YouTube. You know, me getting in the stock, I don't know if I should tell this story, but I'm gonna tell it anyway. One of the guys I technically work with, let's say the IRS, pretty much they did what they did, prepare the taxes and stuff. And one of the key things that he was telling me, that he had this guy that pretty much came in with a whew, like 130,000, whatever in taxes. And they have to do the assessment on them, and to look and see what's going on, why you boosted up so much money from last year. And basically the guy just he got in the stocks. He got in the stocks. He hit a couple of good stock trades, and dude made over $100,000 in stocks. He went through a program, went through some training, learned it. There you go. And I'm like, man, that is crazy. And that's the thing. When it comes to a lot of us, man, without the knowledge, you don't know, so we can't go make the money. So with him learning that little simple thing on trading stocks, garnered him to make over 100,000, put him in another tax bracket. You know, his taxes are different now, and that's the thing that a lot of us, we kind of, lose touch on, is that we don't know the knowledge, so we can't afford, go out there and make the money. You're not gonna be in a position as most, because the knowledge is there for us to get it. But what always happens? What always happen with that knowledge? Typically, we don't ever learn too much, because hey, we just don't research. We don't go out here and try to get it. So it's easier for the knowledge to stay in one area, one vicinity, because nobody else is going out here seeking. Now, when you learn this knowledge to a degree, that's like what is it? Erica Williams always talking about, when she be like, "There's a play going on," and she talks about the play is dead. The play is dead. When it comes to us, to a degree, want to share it in the community. 9 times out of 10, it's dead. That's like in football or basketball. You know, there's certain plays that teams and coaches run that they're phenomenal. It can't be stopped. And then after a couple of runs, they'll sit there and be like, man, we got to find a way how to stop this. Once they find a way how to stop it, that's it. That is it. So it's like, we'll be sitting here trying to say, well, this play, that, do this. It's over. That play's already ran. A lot of people done sit there, look at tape, how to break those plays down. It's done. By the time it gets to us, you know, that it just work a couple of more times to a point where it almost gets to a hope. And what they older people call it in back in the day is Johnny come late. And that typically happens when you do this, you know. And say the least, when it comes down to it, man, a lot of issues in the community that we need to forego talk more about is passing the knowledge. You know, you have adults wanting herding the information from their kids, because to a degree, and I always say this, your kids should always be better than you. I expect my sons, if I drive a truck, and my sons should own a trucking company. Or if I'm a nurse, my son should be a doctor. If I'm just pediatric, or just any kind of doctor, my son should be a neurosurgeon. to a point where he's just not he's a surgeon. So you want always the best for your kids, but a lot of people they try to hold that knowledge from their kids. They don't want to see their kids succeed. They don't want to see their kid, go and be better than them. And to a degree, man, it's like we always homing in on family and bonding and fixing, but when are we gonna home in on pushing better knowledge? You know, shout out to Dr. Dunbar. If y'all been missing it, man, these past 2 weeks have like been gold, man. I did a video Saturday I dropped, but before that, I was on Dr. Dunbar's channel. I did a premiere on that video. I did that one Friday night because of the guy I was interviewing. His son's birthday was Saturday, so I didn't want him crunch for time. So I did it that Friday and then just laid it. And shout out to everybody that came through and watched it. He dropped a lot of jewels, and actually this is a friend of mine, and I didn't want to put all his business. I wanted him to when he was talking about him owning actually 5 houses. I wanted him to say that versus me because I'm interviewing him. I know all the information. So I was kind of let him roll along with his story. But even with Dr. Dunbar, and shout out if people don't know Dr. Dunbar's channel is Big Discussion 76. I've been posting it, every Saturday when we do the lives, and it's always in the morning. And I see my brother here third. Shout out to him. Don't want to step on them with the fourth quarter. So basically, when it come down to it, a lot of times we have a lot of information that we're not trying to put out. And Dr. Dunbar and Alonzo and I, we sit there, we had discussions, just basic information and somewhat, a little more level with Alonzo on his expertise, trying to, garner the information so people can understand. And just basic understanding, like things that I talked to my son about, buying a house. And my daughter, she got a house. She's finished start doing Airbnb in her house because she moved to Tampa, back to where she went to college at. And just saying the least about insurance. The first week we did insurance, we had so many people asking good questions, and with me knowing the knowledge, because like I always tell everybody that's the only reason I bought insurance with Alonzo. I never knew this guy before. I met him on YouTube. It was just a thing that when we got to talking about insurance, and in the back of my head, I hear a lot of these guys that are professionals on YouTube, and I ain't even gonna get into some recent stuff that just came out about a guy who's so-called professional, and he's actually not that. And there's nothing wrong with the job that he has, but to put yourself out there as being some higher standard for an image, it's like a lot of people on YouTube are putting on the Clark Kent because for people that really don't know, Superman is actually uh the real him, Kal-El. Clark Kent is his uniform. Every superhero has a costume uniform you want to say, but Clark is Superman's costume or whatever attire because he's already Superman. Everybody else transferred. Batman, Bruce Wayne became Batman. Even like the Flash became what's his Barry became the Flash. Everybody else was somebody first and became something. Superman was already Superman, Kal-El. I think that's his name. Then he be named as Superman, but he became Clark Kent as his costume to go around and be around people. A lot of people probably didn't know that, but that's something to deep and dissect when you getting into it. But saying the least, when it comes down to the information, a lot of people just don't know. And like I said about the Everest, This guy was trying to put people on game, that trying to get some knowledge, get off that sofa, get you some knowledge. And a lot of people are falling short because why? They're not putting in what the bare minimum, picking up a book. Even say the least, even down to the fact of people not being able to read nowadays. You have audio books, you have YouTube videos, you have Google for people that can't really spell as well. Google has it to where you hit the speaker button and say it. I seen a guy yesterday, and it is no shot to this guy, being able to spell anything, but the way the technology is, this guy literally had to do some notes for the job, took out his phone, went into the file that he had, hit the speaker, everything he wanted to say far as notes already done. It took the hassle out of him texting and typing everything, backing up because he misspelled something or put something incorrectly. Everything. You speak clearly enough, that Google's going to catch everything. Then go into the factor of, you know, things that we want to learn, but we don't have the patience to endure. There's a lot of stuff that people want to get into, just don't have the patience. You know, man, one of the things that I want to get into, I did a seminar actually with real estate, and there was another seminar that went along with it, and it was what is the name of that? Um, it's dealing with stock. Um, I'm having a brain freeze right now. Probably come back to me. Stock options. There you go. Stock options. And with stock options, I know about stock options. I know to a degree on trading stock options, but it takes a lot of time to actually, get into it to where you start making good money. You know, I can jump in, do an option, and have a setting on there to where I can get a call or a push for it to come on and off and make me some money to a degree. But to really get in there and make some real money, you have to get in there, know the market, know the trends, and do research on whatever company. There's programs that show you all the information that you want or need, but you just gotta first of all get into it and learn and know what to do. So when it comes down to it, that information is there. It just we all really genuinely just don't know. And going back in with Alonzo, and I'm gonna talk about that course I did as well. With Alonzo, like I said, didn't know this guy. Met him on YouTube. He was talking. I said, oh, he probably just like some other guys. Started asking him pretty good questions. And he's like, oh, you into this? You real estate, whatever? Nah, I just got policies. Oh, okay. So you do your homework. Yeah. I mean, I know what I want, and I'm gonna go out here and try to figure out what other people are trying to offer me or sell me and get to it. And therefore, off the rip, cool, understood everything. We talked. He told me he did policies. He talked about getting policies 14 days on a child after they born. 14 days, people. So you can get a policy on your child 14 days after they're born. And that's a good thing. Preparing your kids for life. See, a lot of people thinking, oh man, you're gonna get a death policy on a child 14 days. No, I'm getting a life. They have death insurance. See, people don't understand these terms because you know and also it's funny because there's a guy on YouTube, he always say this, that words matter, and words actually do matter when it comes to this instance, because life insurance is for life. You have this policy that can help you while you're alive, whole and universal. Universal is better. People need to research universal. But getting into it with Alonzo, when we talked about getting a policy, I was ready that day. I didn't want to do another consultation. I was ready that day. Once we did the consultation, and I didn't know this too. Me getting a policy, I would have had to have at least to the point of double what I was getting for my child. So I can't get a $1 million policy on my child and I have 100,000. No, I would actually have to have a minimum almost $200,000 to get $100,000 policy on my. To get $2 million to get $1 million policy on my child. And when it comes down to it, it makes sense because to a degree, a lot of people are bad when it comes to these things, and a lot of people to a point will scheme in on their own family, somewhat kids, to make money. And the crazy thing is, like I said, learning that knowledge. I was able to, talk with Alonzo and we have, just basic small discussions. I'm not gonna say I'm a guru with this and I'm advanced, but I know enough to where nobody can't, pull the wool over my eyes and, get over 'em. And with that being said, me learning that simple knowledge, man, it helps me with my family, to kind of garner that information. Joy, what's going on? And that helps me a lot with dealing with my kids. You know, a lot of times my sons, my older kids, when I used to have when they were living with us, and they used to always try to pull these little fast ones. And I told my daughter before she got caught, I told my daughter, I said, that's plagiarism. I said, we used to do that in school. And I told her, I said, the only thing we did was we took something, copied and pasted, read it, and put it in our own words. So actually, we kind of, put it in our own words, but still we read the thing. Because a lot of kids, when they was doing plagiarism, they'll just go to the first, a second one topic, scan everything, copy it, put it on that paper, and just turn it into the teacher. And these teachers started getting smart, knowing that these kids were doing that, and they were looking and seeing that they were plagiarizing stuff, and so they were going back, looking through all like scans, couple of words, and just put them in Google search, and those words will pop up where in the searches that they did. And I used to always say that I know these teachers aren't looking at every single article, every single essay or something that people wrote or project. All they were doing just copying, just like you did, copy and pasting whatever that you copy from the Google search into the Google, and then automatically pull up that article in there. And I was like, I thought about that, so I started saying, well, maybe if I'm gonna plagiarize, at least let me do a little research and read and you know redo this stuff because I don't sound like Othello. What's his name? Othello. When I write on topics, so of course she gonna know that's not me. You know, I'm not using certain words in class, so therefore she know I'm not using certain words when I write. So basically, say the least, my daughter got caught plagiarizing, and smart kid, real smart, but he took the lazy way out because everybody was doing it. And like I told her, it was nothing under the sun. We've been doing this for years. Like I told her, I'm not that far out of school from you guys. So when you guys were talking about this and that, like this is my generation still doing this stuff too. And it's just a wash and repeat cycle because most of the times when they deal with the generation, we particularly do things a certain way. The next generation come behind us. They learn from us. They either critique it and make it better, or they keep it the same. But otherwise, most of the time, these next generations are learning the same thing from us, or they're advancing. And that goes into the point where I was talking about earlier, where if I learn something and my child should be better at it than me because I should be teaching them and they learn a different way and come out a whole new way. That's just like with these phones. You know, my brother, my older brother is 10, he's about 9 years older than me. And when my twins were about three, that put him around about these 40, about 43, 45 or so. And they were pulling his phone and showing him his camera at 3 years old. Like, here, this your camera right here. Show him what a camera at. Let me get on YouTube. He said, I don't know if I got YouTube on my phone. They grabbed the phone. It's right here. And he like, man, y'all know more about this phone than me. And it got to a point to where he was like, man, these boys are smart. And I'm like, no, it's just a wave of technology. They always see me have my phone. I'm showing them how to do stuff. I actually bought my kids when they were young. I bought them a touchscreen monitor. So it's basically just a big tablet. It was like a 23-inch computer touchscreen. So all they did, no mouse. They'll go in there, swipe, touch whatever they want, watch their Curious George, and I would show them how to go to the Google search and type in either C and then automatically pop up because it goes off the search. And before you start putting in the other letters, it particularly goes to the ones that you either already searched previously, or if you're going in with new searches, the more you keep typing, the more it starts searching the name. And so they would always find Curious George easy. That was their favorite cartoon when they were young, and always go to it. And they evolved to, you know, hey, playing video games on their phone. You know, they like Roblox. My sons like Roblox. They evolved into playing that and trying. One of my sons is actually building his own game on Roblox. So, to a degree, if he build a game right, he actually can get paid off of it. You know, and the number one thing that I've been doing a lot of research on, I've been teaching them that much about finance. I teach them about bills. I show them this and that. Actually, and I'm, I'm gonna say this, and I need to get ready to get off here anyway. Um, One of my family members gave my son, well, my twins, money for their birthday, $150 a piece. One of my sons, he takes his 150. He said, "I'm gonna save it, buy me some shoes that I want that you don't want to pay for, or I'm gonna buy me some clothes, this and that." He had more than 150, but he that's the 150 plus the money he said. I think he had over 200 and some dollars. And then the other twin, he spends all his money, because he's at the rate to where whatever shoes you buy me, I know they're gonna look good. I know you know my style, so you're gonna buy me these shoes, which I'm gonna wear them anyway. The clothes you buy me, I'm gonna wear them anyway. So I'm gonna spend my money on stuff that I like. He likes Pokemon cards. We was in, I think, GameStop. I didn't say nothing to him to a certain degree, but I just wanted to see what he was gonna do. He spent $110 on Pokemon cards, and he didn't have no other money. So pretty much he had around about 40 bucks left after he spent that. And I'm like, dude, you spend all this money on Pokemon cards. I'm like, you getting older. Like, why would you keep buying these Pokemon cards? But to a degree, I can understand because there's people who have Pokemon cards that are worth money. There's a football player. They have rumors of reports of him retiring, but he actually didn't retire, but he still plays. I think he's a kicker or something. This guy has a Pokemon card worth $690,000, and like $690,000 for one card. And talked about another time where this guy had a Jordan collection. He sold his Jordan collection to buy like I think 400, $500,000 house. He been collecting Jordans ever since he was in the 80s when I think Jordan first came out. He bought his first pair of Jordans when Jordan first brought it, his shoes came out. And he bought one pair. And a couple of years later, he had jobs. He'd buy a couple pair here and there. To the point when the '90s came in, this guy was buying at least 2 to 3 pair of shoes, to where he'll keep one and wear one, and pretty much end up having a kid later on in life and wanted to be more mature and was staying in an apartment with all these shoes, and to a degree, because I know he had a couple of them over his parents' house, the ones he had from back in the day. He just had the current one at his house, to a point to where he was like, man, I need to, take more responsibility, and end up selling his collection and got over 400 or $500,000. That's a lot of shoes to get that much money over pairs of shoes. But it all depends on how you structure things. But saying at least like with my son spending all that money, and that's what's making me more or less look at the budgeting skills on both of my kids and the areas of what they need to improve and what they need to do better at, you know, and going into, what I talk about on here about real estate, about them getting into my older kids, my my oldest son, he living life. He, you know, moved out of his sister house and now he's about to get an apartment. Like he's just living life, you know. Then I have my daughter. She's living life. She already bought a house. She ended up getting a real estate license. A hack that she did. She got a real estate license to get the commission for buying the house because the seller pays the commission to the real estate agent, and therefore she took that commission and just pretty much gave it right back to him. I mean, you do that anyway when down payment goes to the seller. So basically, she did a way to where if I get my license, take the test, there you go. But more or less, like I said, me teaching my kids more about finance, showing them the bills. When they start saying, why can I get this? Why can I get that? Look how much money I got in my bank account and look at these bills. What you think needs to come first? Most of the time they always say, oh, or something to that degree. And then they realize it ain't the point that we can't afford it. It's just that the point it's not now. Because other things have priority over your shoes, other things have priority over what needs to be done. That's not even including them looking at the savings. They're just more or less looking at the regular bank account. Most time I transfer money out before I end up showing them the account anyway. And I'm like, look at all this stuff I spend money on. Groceries, gas, snacks when I'm you wanting a bag of chips and soda at the gas station when you was with me yesterday. You wanting Chick-fil-A after we just left the house and told y'all to eat before we leave. Soon as we leave, the number one thing kids want, I want something to eat. So that had to be an account. And they always come back with the same notion. Oh, I'm like, you guys, and that was a scare tactic that was told to me. And I'm like, I'm gonna start using it for my kids. When you get older, I'm gonna make you pay a bill. My two oldest kids, they was so scared that they was gonna pay bills when they got older. And as soon as they got older, they didn't pay nothing. They went and got jobs. They were balling out, spending their money doing what they want to do. Saving a little, spending a little, but more or less doing what they want to do. And I would always, kind of enforce that on them. Be like, yep, as soon as you turn 16, 17, you get a job, I'm going to put this bill in your name. I'm going to let you see how I feel to pay the light bill. And, you always leaving the lights on in the house. I'm going to let you see how it feels to pay the gas bill, this and that. And my gas, I'm mad. I'm about to get off of here too. My gas bill, $211. I say, man, messing with these kids. I think I had it on 80 something, 82, 80. I don't know. I think one of the kids. I'm about to put the code back on the thermostat. I got a digital thermostat, and it's attached to my Google. So I have it schedule set, but I know if they touch it, it goes up, then it comes back down. But man, I'm like, that's too much. I feel like my grandma, my granddaddy now. That's too much to be spending on gas. I remember I was getting therms for like 36 cents. Now it's up to like 90 and 70 some cent a therm. I'm like, man, this gas is getting ridiculous out here, man. Like 211. Yeah, I'm like, man, I'm about to start selling blood. But anyway, man, like I say, get back to you know what are you doing with yourself, man? Hey, you gotta start being financially savvy. You gotta go out here. I mean, it's cool to go out here and look at all these YouTube videos of somebody with the gossip, the tea, the news. It is funny. I look at it. I like it. I'm on the panels talking junk about people, men and women, talking junk about all this stuff. But in the end, if we don't really take the time and learn something, like prepare ourselves mentally and put things in play, we losing out. We already dropping the ball in finance because on average, I can run down the list. Most people ain't got life insurance. And generational wealth is pushed through life insurance and real estate. And when I'm talking about most people don't have life insurance, as men, first and foremost, if you you supposed to be this protector and provider, if you die, who's taking care of your family? Now your wife got to either go get remarried, the kids, they're not gonna have their dad to come to and ask for money. So that's already dropping the ball as a man who has kids and don't have life insurance. Saying the least, if you marry, that's furthermore to happen. If you divorce and you just have kids, once again, furthermore to happen. Who's gonna take care of those kids? You could say, oh man, my baby mama this, my ex-wife this all day, but when it comes down to it, who is gonna take care of those kids? Most kids on average. My son has came to me several times. Let me get $100 here till Friday. Let me get a little money for this. I pay it no problem. You know, daughter the same time. Anything they want as kids, I know how hard it is out here, and it's gonna get harder to a degree. So preparing them and actually helping them, I'm all for it. It's gonna come a time where you're gonna bump your head in the road, and say the least. Sometimes it's always easier for girls than it is for boys. We can have that argument all day, but I don't like getting into those topics. But you know, when it comes down to it, a lot of dudes don't have people just paying their bills like that. You know, I always see these videos. It'd be funny when a guy be like, "I wish I had some boobs and a nice booty so I can be TikTok famous." And the funny thing about it is, when it come down to it, not having that knowledge, it sets that standard. Some people have to use what they got to make that money. Even as men, if you know how to fix a car, sometimes you have to, hey, get off that high horse, go fix that car, just so you can make you some money. You know, and that's why I was going back into them trades, learning trades. You know, trades are not going out of style. Plumbing, electric, carpentry, all else fails, you can start a small business with those key things to actually set the standard for you. Like I said, even with the housing market, buy a house. The way rent is going, buy a house. The, it's gonna come a time where it's gonna be too. You can't even afford it. Me and my friend was having a discussion. He said, "Man, at the market rate right now, you staying in a good, decent house, you're gonna pay $2,000 a month for a good, decent house. $2,000 a month, and that's gonna be a 200 some $1,000 house. That if you was paying 2,000, you'll be paying almost like a 300, 350 to $400,000 house. Real nice house, real nice neighborhood, but because you don't have the funds, you don't have the credit, you're gonna be staying in a decent neighborhood. You're gonna be paying this money in a decent neighborhood. You're gonna be paying this money way above. And most people, they say, man, I just don't have the money for this. I just don't have the money for that. But when it comes down to it, why you don't have the money? Go do more work. I always talk about this all the time. My apps. That's funny. And I'm actually going into that. I always talk about apps all the time. I always talk about how you go do DoorDash, make some money. How you go do Uber, make some money. Grubhub, they got Spark. Just found out about dropping off groceries for Walmart. They have just a plethora of apps that you can get into to make you some money. You know, they have freelancing sites. I'm about to do a video on that probably tomorrow or so, on these freelancing sites that you can take advantage of. Most people, You're not handy, working with your hands. You don't have a car. If you have somewhat skills, you can do these freelancing sites, talk to people, coach people through these things. They have life coaches. They have a site to where you actually can be someone's friend and just get on the phone and listen to them and get them suggestions and talk and make money off of being a friend. So, like I said, at the end of the day, there's no reason. There's some people that don't have parents. They just need to wing it and get somebody else's opinion about something. They will pay to get your opinion. Because most of the time, when you get those free opinions, most of the time with those, they don't really put no effort into it. They don't put no heart. You might don't even put no effort into it because you're getting paid, but to a standard, most people kind of take stuff serious. Most people they're actually going into things to, set a standard and to a degree, hey, all about you. Dr. Dunbar always say your attitude determines your altitude, and that's the key. Depending on how you look at things and put things in perspective, that determines whether you're going to make it or not. So, saying the least with that, shout out to everybody, man. The bill monger coming in here right when I'm about to kick off. So, I got to stay at least another 5 or 10 minutes just because of that. But, like I say, man, it helps when you know something. And going into that Everest, back again with that Everest College, doing the research, coming on these sites, learning stuff. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to be out here, going back and forth with people, learning stuff online is a little more easy. I told you, I watch documentaries on life. I watch documentaries on how to make myself better, how to, get into certain, situations for, the best. Hey, that is true, you know. And when it comes down to it, a lot of us we just don't know. I always talk about the knowledge. We really just don't know when it comes down to the knowledge. Like I said about stocks earlier, a lot of people they know the basics. If I like Nike and I buy Nike, why not invest in Nike? You know, the stock goes up and down. A lot of people don't know about these ETFs. Um, the S&P 500. S&P 500, 9 times out of 10, you're going to always win with them because they're going from the 500 most reasonable businesses. There's a couple of businesses that tank every now and then, and they got to swap them out because why? These businesses are pretty much moving, as my friends say, moving and shaking. Then you go into the ETFs and like the Spider. Spider's doing good with the a lot of people who was into stock options. Man, I seen some people making money on the Spider, doing real good. Tesla's been pushing people on that on the on the stock options. There's another one someone told me about. Walmart the other day had a big drop. McDonald's, Nike, who else was it? I think it was Starbucks. AT&T, all these had like big drops at the same time. I think what was it? McDonald's went up or down? But one or the other, they went up by $10 and came back down within that minute. Hey, going into same thing with the programs with crypto. A lot of people didn't take advantage of crypto ETFs. Learn the systems, get in there now. I still got money sitting in crypto. I just set it and forget it. I when the market started going crazy, I didn't take my money. I just left it in there. I'm like, I'm not even thinking about that money. So it's gone. Like my wife, the funny thing of it was I gave my wife $25 back in like 2017 or 18. That $25 when the market went up, I think it was 2008 21 when the big bubble on it popped with the what was it Bitcoin. My wife ended up making $275 off a $25 fractional share of Bitcoin. $25 she made 275. I said, man, take 150 out and leave the rest. She's like, nah, I'm gonna let it keep growing. Now she probably at I think $80, almost 90 or something going down even more, but she didn't take my advice. When it went back down, she lost that little money. But if it goes back up, cool, which I don't think it's gonna go up no time soon, but it's gonna go to the extent to where this time when it goes up, Bitcoin is probably gonna hit, at least 100 strong, plus. I say about 150 or so. You know, you just sit your money and ride the waves. That's the times when people will stock, buying stocks. Same thing with real estate. I'm not gonna sit here and take real estate to one of my friends made this big thing. He's more of a buy and hold guy. He's not a flipper, and there's houses that he have renovated with the bird method. A lot of people look at the bird method, find out what that bird method is to real estate, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But he did the bird method. He bought the house, was it renovate, uh, rent and refinance. It's three, but I'm always missing one of them. No, it's buy, rent, renovate, refinance, and rent out. I think that's all of them. And when it comes down to it, it's that standard. He was like, man, I'm a holder. I'm gonna hold these, get the equity for my kids. If I need equity out of one of these houses, I'll pull, but mainly I'm doing it for my kids. And he's building it now. I was telling him about trusts, so now he's looking at putting the house in a trust because when the houses get transferred over to the kids' name, they got to pay the tax on that. You know, transferring. So basically, putting it in a trust, it keeps it as the trust being the owner, so it won't, hit the kids over the head with this huge tax they got to pay and everything. For the most part, man, just going into it, a lot of us just learning the basics. A lot of us taking advantage of things that we need to do, we don't know. If you don't know, ask questions. There's a lot of times I don't know things, I ask questions. There was yesterday I went to a loan office. Um, I actually went into loan. I didn't actually go into loans. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be brief. Went to go deliver something, and the loan officer seen me coming in and was like, "Hey, you need a hand? Let me give you something to help you out, a cart or something." So he gave me the cart. I actually got his card, and I said, "What is this office that you do?" He's like, "Well, we do loans." And I said, "Okay." He said, "You look at it, interested in buying a house?" I said, "Actually, I'm interested in buying land." And he said, "Well, we would have to actually sell you the house with a loan offer if you're with the intent on building on that land." And so we talked, and I got his card, got some information from him, and I'm like, this area is nice, it's rural, and I know I can take advantage of the herbal, I mean not herbal, but urban loan, as far as me getting, because it's outside the city, and I could take advantage, because the main city is Athens out there, but there's an area that I've been looking at that I could take advantage of that loan and get less than 2%, 3 or 1%, whatever, depending on that loan I get through my credit. And so shaking hands and kissing babies. When you actually going in, talking with people, understanding who you talking to, what you're dealing with, to actually set the standard on, make you some money. So once again, with that being said, I'm about to be out of here. Hope nobody creep in the door. But know, get your finances together, get your money right, figure out what you want to do. If you don't know, go seek some knowledge. You know, they always talk about wise counsel. When it comes down to it, yeah, networking. When I always talk about wise counsel, a lot of people deal with a lot of older people that don't know nothing, or older people that just be running their mouth and talking. No, wise counsel. You know, You can talk to a younger guy and he can give you some wise counsel just as much as an older guy will, because if he's in the trenches and he knows things, of course he's gonna give you some knowledge. The thing of it is for you to do the research. I'm not gonna blindly. That's one of the biggest things that most pastors nowadays don't say. I hear a lot of pastors say, if you don't believe in me, pick up your Bible, go to this verse and look it up yourself. You're not supposed to just listen to me with the intent of taking everything that I say for face value. Do the research and look it up for yourself. If the church, if any like anybody's in church and the pastor say, yeah, God say you're supposed to get all your money to me, and then I can rationalize and show you how to, do your finance. It's in the Bible. Read in the Bible, and they'll tell you this. A lot of people won't even read. A lot of people won't even take the time to look for it. Bro, 'cause you got to go over there and look at a channel though. Got to see what that channel about. When it comes down to it, a lot of people just not doing it. They're not researching. Therefore, that's why they're blind. They don't know nothing. They only know what people tell them. And I'm gonna end with this. Uh, Bruce was talking about how a lot of people, come out. Matter of fact, let me drop these wrenches before I jump off of here. All right. Just making sure I had dropped these wrenches before I jump off here. But yeah, Bruce, he was having a little comedy thing, and he was, kind of inappropriate joke, but he was talking about short people come from men who got short things. And so he was like, because I thought that every man that was a midget, they came from short things. So when it came to the woman, he was confused. But that's the thing. Older people will give you bad information, and if you don't do the research or just look for yourself, you lost. And it's not the point that sometimes they don't know. They lost themselves with the principle that somebody told them the same thing. So, you know, understand, like I said, you can learn from a baby, you can learn from a teen. We're not taught correctly to my standard, I say. And I don't know everything. As parenting, there's no book on how to be a parent that is down borderline successful. There are things that can, give you that good and best results of outcomes, but it's not 100% because it don't work across the board. Same thing with being a father, same thing with being a man, same thing with being a mother, same thing with being a woman. You're taught to a degree certain things, and after that, it's all trial and error. So we learn from our mistakes. We get better at life. We look at transitions between other people, interactions, and therefore making ourselves be in a better place. We learn from other people's mistakes, dealing with divorce, dealing with issues, dealing with relationships. And most people grow. Most people stay the same because they technically don't learn or don't know what's best for them. So you're going to repeat the cycle of your mom. You're going to repeat the cycle of your dad, or it gets to a point where you say, I want more out of life. I want to change this cycle. So therefore, most people what? Do better, change the cycle. But with that being said, shout out to everybody that came through. I always say, we here and we gone.